Hey everyone, welcome to Evidence Bank, the masterclass where I am teaching you how to collect evidence of your abundance. This is such a potent masterclass because money is really the most programmed thing that we have in the universe. And what's so ironic is that if we look out at nature, nature is inherently abundant. Everything in nature is abundant. Everywhere you look in nature specifically, there's abundance. Even in your house right now, in your current surroundings, if you look around and you started listing everything that was there, you'd be like, I'm tired. If you were listing the table and the coaster and the cup and the laptop and the candle and the decorations and the door and the floor and the dogs and the rugs and the chairs. Did I say chair already? I don't even know. But do you get my point? If you started actually paying attention to what you have right now, you would realize you have so much. And I don't care what place you're at in your life, you have a lot to be grateful for. You have a lot. If you're watching this right now, you have internet, you have a smartphone, or you have a laptop. That's more than most people. That's more than a lot of people in the world. You are inherently blessed. You are inherently abundant. But the problem is unlike every other species on the planet, humans do not go with nature. If you look at animals outside, they are literally living in sync with nature because they are meant to. They were put on planet Earth. They are here to survive. They are here to acclimate to nature. Think about even if you are somewhere where there's 4 seasons. If you look at the animals, they adapt. Even look at the trees. They adapt for all of the seasons. It is unnatural for us to be so disconnected from nature. And that's where a lot of our problems stem from. And when you can actually start training yourself to be more like you were born to be rather than how you are programmed to be, you would realize that abundance is everywhere. And I find that something that's really powerful to do is if we take the conversation and the word off of money for a minute and we put the money on the table and we replace that word with abundance. Because when you start looking for abundance, you can see it everywhere, no matter where you are. Whether you're in the city, whether you're in nature, there's an abundance of buildings or there's an abundance of trees. There is an abundance of everything when you start looking for it. The problem is we have been programmed to see things that we don't have. We've been programmed to focus on things that we don't have. We've been told stories since we were born that things are limited, that resources are limited, that money is limited, that everything. Like if you actually think about it, I think they've told us that everything is limited. And that's bullshit. Literally, lack is an illusion because it isn't natural in the universe. Nothing in the universe is lacking. Everything is very intentional and purposeful, and it's very synchronistic. When you look at how nature works, everything is working together. Things were designed to work together. There are specific insects that pollinate specific flowers. There are specific plants that thrive because of other plants. The way that Earth was designed, we are all in this symbiotic relationship. But what happens is when we put ourselves in these boxes and then we go to work in these boxes and we drive in these boxes and we stare at these boxes and then we stare at another box, we are completely boxed in. And then we are conditioned to see things and think about things in a certain way. And typically, I would argue 99% of people are really trained to notice lack. Now, it's very ironic to me that the countries that quote unquote have the most, like the most money, the most resources, the people in these countries like America, we are the ones that are the most highly susceptible to lack-based orientation. When you go to other countries that have literally like nothing, that comparatively, if you go to a third world country, if you've ever been to a third world country, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, so I'm not going to go really deep into the story. If you guys are in the membership, let me know which program I told it in, but South Africa is my favorite country in the world. I would argue with what's going on in the state of the world. A lot of people love South Africa right now, but South Africa and I are homies. I went there in 2017, and it's the most beautiful place in the world, literally aesthetically and with the way people are. I have never seen people have less, and I've never seen people be more grateful. They are so appreciative. They have such amazing energy. They are so thankful. They are so grateful for what they have that they don't have any time. Like, it's literally not even programmed in them to look for the things that they don't have. They are so busy and too busy appreciating what they do have, and quite honestly, working for things to have things instead of just having things easily handed to them. They don't have Uber Eats where they can just order anything and it can just show up. They don't have access to Amazon where they can just order something and it shows up in 2 days. Like, if they want water, they typically have to go get it. And so it's so interesting to me that when we look at the world, the people that have the less are actually the most grateful. And the people that have the most are literally easily the most miserable people. Everybody always talks about New Yorkers, how New Yorkers are miserable, and facts. I can totally back that up. New Yorkers are miserable. Even when I lived in the South, people were like, "You're a bitch." And I mean, sometimes I am, but it's just that I'm direct and I'm not here to I don't have time for these false pleasantries, which is what a lot of people will do. But New Yorkers cut to the chase, but also, yes, miserable. There's a lot of people in New York, especially if you're in New York City, there's a lot of misery. And it's there's a lot of dense energy, but it's because of the way that we've been programmed to be. We are programmed in New York to go, 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 go. We've got places to be, get out my way. And I still operate like that. I walk fast, I talk fast, I drive fast, I learn fast. I do everything fast. I'm a manifesting generator. Efficiency is my keyword. But what ends up happening is because we have been taught to, and another thing I would say about New Yorkers is we work hard. We have work ethic. And of course, everyone is different. But I've been to a lot of places now in the world and in the country, and I would argue I've never seen people work harder. Maybe in South Africa where the people have to work, but when we're talking about a profession or when we're talking about education, I've never seen people work harder than in New York. And when I've gone other places, I'm actually shocked. In the South, I was shook. The lack of work ethic there, I was like, bro, what? What is happening right now? But it's just the way that certain places operate. But I would say that America altogether, we are one of the places that are the most ungrateful countries in the world. And why is that? Because in America, we have been told that we can have anything, but we need to work hard for it. The American dream, you've got to get good grades in high school so that way you can go to college, so that way you can get more degrees and get more degrees, and that way you can be successful, and that way you can buy the house, and that way you can have the kids, and that way you can go on the vacations, and that way you can have the wedding, all of the things, you know what I mean? It's get this, get this, get this, get this, get this. So our society is focusing on getting. Oh, you just accomplished something? Cool. We're not even going to celebrate that. Moving on to the next. Now, did that call you out a little bit? Are you noticing ooh, I actually have been showing up kind of ungrateful. I kind of actually haven't been appreciating the things that I have. Have you been so busy focusing on what you don't have, yet you're not being appreciative really at all for the things that you do have? Because no shame or blame. It's just about we have to understand where we're at to understand how we're creating this life experience and this reality that we have now. Because we are the ones that are creating it. So we need to look at and examine, how are we showing up day by day? What is our mindset? What are our actions? What do we feel like? We have to be really crystal clear on who we're being right now in this moment, because if we're not crystal clear on who we're being now, it's very difficult for us to actually embody the frequency and the self-concept of the version that we desire to be and the life that we desire to have, because we don't have enough clarity on what is the gap. Here's where we're at and here's where we want to be. So how do we close that gap? We need to understand where we're at and where we want to be, right? They need to be clearly defined, just like if you were goal setting. You would be reverse engineering it. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm at. These are the steps that I would need to take, and we're going to backtrack them, reverse engineer it, and this is how we're going to get from here to here. And this is something with money that I have been in arguably, I stopped investing in these programs a few years back, but I would argue for probably 5 years, actually, I dedicated 10 whole years to doing money work. But for 10 whole years, I would buy any money book that I could, any wealth consciousness book that I could. And I mean any, from learning very, very masculine strategies. I even went to school for business. My last year that I was in school, I switched my degrees. My degree was business and information technology management. I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh my God, it was long, but it was half business, it was half technology. And so then I realized I love technology to a certain extent, but I do not want to be coding. Like in my MySpace days, I loved it, but I'm not gonna be coding a website. And I was in a program where I had to create an access database, and I'm a straight A student. I'm a stickler for that. Like I was on the dean's list every semester. And in this class, I literally spent 3 weeks building this access database. No matter what I did, it wouldn't work. Thought it was because I had a MacBook. So I went and saw my tattoo artist, who is a fucking genius when it comes to technology. And he had a Windows PC. And I was like, dude, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I knew what was wrong, but I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I sent to the professor and I literally circled like what was wrong. I knew what was wrong, but I didn't know how to fix it. And I circled it to him and I was like, I don't know how to fix this. Like, this is wrong. And he said, yeah, you're right. That's wrong. Bro, what? Like, what? I had gotten scholarships. I was a straight A student. I was always on the dean's list. Like, you're not going to help me out further than that. Like, what are we doing here? So I went to my tattoo artist, spent another 2 weeks trying to build this thing. He tried to help me. He was like, Alexa, like, I don't know. I was the person that in the 8 years I worked for the government, I was an unofficial technical support in every single agency that I worked for, because so many people didn't understand technology and I was that good at it. I even at one point handled technology contracts, and I was arguing with the contract managers because there was language in the contract that didn't make sense for how technology worked, but the people that I was arguing with did not understand how technology works, so they didn't get it. And I was like, how are we here? So I thought I would excel in this whole technology thing, but that class broke me. And I want to say I had less than 10 credits left, and that was like one of my last classes. So I ended up switching. I called a different SUNY school and I said, listen, the information technology part, we got to remove that. I'm totally cool with doing business, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, at this point, I want to go get my MBA. So do you have a way for me to, because when you transfer schools, you always lose credits, right? And so I was like, do you have a way that I can, and I had a 3.69 GPA, 3.96. I don't know, one of the two. I had my GPA was good. And so I was like, can I transfer? Like on paper, Alexa, back when she worked for the New York State government, I was a catch, okay? A catch. My resume is spectacular. So I was like, y'all, can you take me? But what's going to be the deal? And they were like, well, we have this program where you're going to have to repeat a year. We can't put you in it right away. Because I was like, listen, I work hard. I was taking 18 credits a semester. I was in South Africa, and I wasn't sleeping at all because I was getting all of my assignments done, and I was traveling, and I worked 40 hours a week, and I drove about 2 hours a day to get to and from work, and I cleaned the house, and I cooked, and I took care of the dogs. Like, I don't want to hear that you don't have time to do things. I excel at doing many things. So I was going to transfer to go get my MBA. So they said, you can redo a year. You're going to lose some credits, but transfer to us. And then we're going to put you, I can't remember what degree I went into, but it was a business degree. And then the next year I just had to complete 1 year. And then the next year I was going to go into my MBA program. And then I got COVID and I had to drop out of school. And then the world closed and the epidemic started in New York. And I was the one that handled, my team of 2 people handled all of the agencies. We were the state agency that handled state agencies. So we handled not only the agency, but we handled their employees. And my team of 2 people and me handled all of the state agencies that were handling the COVID crisis. So that's if you want to know a little background. But the reason I'm telling you this is I understand money from a very, 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 very masculine lens. So when I say that I've dedicated a decade to learning money, I mean, like, I learned fucking accounting. I was a sales tax expert for the New York State government for 3 years. Nobody knows sales tax better than me on the planet. I would argue that's how good I am. Like, honestly. And in accounting school, they don't teach you sales tax. So I did business compliance. I learned money. I handled sales tax. Then I was going to school to get my MBA. I understand the very, very masculine aspects of money. I know what stocks to invest in. I know how to manage your money. Like, I know all of that. And then I dedicated probably the next 5 years to taking any money program I could, to listening to or to reading any wealth consciousness book, to taking all of the money mindset programs, to the coaches that literally are internet famous for teaching money. I took all of their programs, and this is the conversation that I'm going to have with you today, I have never heard anyone have. How, when I spent 10 years from the very masculine, strategic, very like matrixy way of managing money and learning all of like the things that like the Wall Street people know, to learning all of the feminine energetics, the money mindset, no one had this conversation with me. If you are in currency, if I don't actually think I have currency for sale on my website anymore, but that was my wealth consciousness program. It is available in AOMU. So if you're a member of AOMU, you have access to that. Module 2 of that program, I do have a similar conversation with you. But before that conversation, I had never even heard this conversation happen. So if you are here today, what you're going to learn is going to be what you need to know. And if you are in the membership, or if you have bought the money game and you apply the money game, which is my 30-day money manifestation challenge, with this, you're going to be rock solid. You are going to have mastered abundance, because this is what you need to know. In my world, I do not believe that money work is money mindset. I truly believe that if you're only doing money mindset work, you are missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Money is not just the way you think about money. It's the feelings that you have with money, the nervous system regulation work. It's about the habits that you have with money. It's about the way you speak about money. It's about your relationship with money. It's about your perspective with how you view the world. It is about how you feel. It's about your emotional intelligence with money. There is so much that is actually included in money work. And that's why in my world, you will always hear me refer to it as money work. So while we're going to talk about money today, I want to start the conversation with talking about abundance, because I am not somebody that just like learn this haphazardly. I didn't just read one book. I didn't just take one program. I don't know anyone that has dedicated as much of their life to learning money and as in-depthly as I have. Even the self-proclaimed money coaches out there. And this is one thing that I need you to know too, is when I was in those programs with the women who have written books on money, and I'm not, and no shame, like that, what they teach is amazing. But what I saw was there was I would say a 15 to 85% divide, where 15% of people were like good to go and they started making 100K months like instantaneously from those teachings. But I would argue that 85% of the people really still struggled, because the problem is money mindset just tells you how to think about money, but it doesn't address the trauma that you've had with money. It doesn't address how you feel about money. It doesn't address how you can change your habits. It doesn't address how do you move through money when you are literally struggling to pay your bills right now, when you are in debt, when you are going to collections, when you are getting your car repossessed, when you are getting eviction notices. Like, These are things that are real life things because of the way that we have been so deeply programmed in the matrix. And this is intentional. The reason why so many people are struggling is because of the fact that we have been so deeply conditioned to believe in lack that we experience it, so much so that a lot of people actually fight back and get defensive when people tell you how easy it could be to manifest money, because of the fact that they've never been shown that, they've never been told that. And so immediately they're like, you are the most entitled person. Who are you to tell me you don't know what I've been through? So what I need you to know first and foremost is I honor where you're at. I honor what you've been through. Your trauma was real. I'm not going to be that coach that says that it wasn't. I understand that you have probably gone through a lot with money. But what I want to say is, can you make a decision in this moment that you are going to forgive yourself for the previous or maybe current money problems that you have? And you are allowing yourself in this moment by making a decision that you are going to actually change your relationship with money, to actually change your relationship with abundance. So wherever you're at right now, whether you've got $100 in your bank account, whether you're negative $100 in your bank account, whether you feel pretty solid with money, but there's still some dysregulation that comes up and maybe you've got $10,000 in the bank, like wherever you're at, I want you to know that your previous story with money, and previous, I mean like prior to this moment, your previous story with money does not have to define you. It does not have to continue to be true for you. You can decide to have a different experience with abundance, with money, with wealth. But in that decision, that means that there's going to be a lot of cleanup that we have to do. We're going to have to do some shadow work. We're going to have to really hold ourselves accountable and say, well, how am I continuing to create this? Am I somebody that keeps overspending money because I don't feel safe with it? Am I somebody that keeps hoarding money because I'm afraid to spend it, because I'm afraid something might go wrong? Am I somebody that no matter how much money I manifest, I always end up manifesting a bill to take it out? Wherever you're at with money right now and before this class, is we need to just be able to look at that without getting triggered, without getting dysregulated, without feeling frantic, without getting defensive. We need to be able to start coming back to neutrality. Now, if you saw in the program already, because the first thing that I dropped was the frequency scale. If you saw the frequency scale and if you read that, you saw that I pointed to acceptance and then I pointed to love, because on the frequency scale of emotions, neutrality is really where we want to ideally get to, which means that we have forgiven, we've released the shame, we've released the guilt, because shame is the lowest. It's 20 hertz on the frequency scale, and everything is vibrational. You've heard 1,000,001 times that money is energy. But just understanding or knowing that money is energy isn't, like, that sentence in and of itself isn't enough to help you transform your relationship with abundance. We have to go deeper than that. So what I ideally want you to do is I want you to be able to get into a neutral point, at least while you're in this masterclass. If you feel like that's a stretch for you, then that's fine. Now you just know where the work is, right? Like, I'm actually lower than that on the frequency scale. If you looked at that frequency scale, and if you were to look at it right now, pause the video if you feel like, if I were to ask you right now on that frequency scale, where would you put yourself in relationship to money? And this is, again, just so we know where we're at. No shame, no blame, but where do you feel like you fall on the frequency scale with money? So we want to try and get to neutrality. If you are not there currently, just put yourself there while you're in this class so you can hear me without the dysregulation occurring in your nervous system, without your mind getting defensive, without the lack-based stories coming up, because it's not your fault that you've struggled with money. It's not your fault that you've had money issues. It's not your fault that you've had to move back in with your parents, or you've needed to borrow money from your sister, or you had a job, but you didn't have a lot of money in the bank. Whatever your story was before now, it doesn't have to continue to be your story. But the way that we need to tackle money is from every single area. This is not a one-sided thing. Money mindset is one piece of the puzzle, but we've really got to come at it from multiple different aspects. So if you can try to get to a neutral place during this class, so you can at least just hear what I'm saying without projecting on me, without feeling defensive, without wanting to close the class and be like, that Alexa girl, always talking about money. Like, understand that wherever you're at is okay. Wherever you're at is beautiful because it served a purpose, it served a lesson. And who knows, maybe in your past life, you were a queen and you had, or a king, and you had all of the money in the world. And in this lifetime, maybe the sole contract you signed up for was experiencing lack and knowing what it was like to not have money. So you're an infinite being that's lived on every planet every time, and you've experienced all of the things. So it's like, stop taking it so seriously. Notice how I said don't get defensive before I said that. But if you can try and stop taking money so seriously, this is going to be a way for you to actually be able to shift your frequency and shift your mindset, so that way you can shift your habits, so that way you can really shift the amount of money that you're making. So if you can get to neutrality, then we come into acceptance. And I'm going to give you an abundance game that is going to be a game changer for you when it comes to money manifestation, and not even just money. This is going to change the way you see the universe. This is going to be the thing that changes the way you look at the world. This is going to be the thing that changes how you think and how you speak, because you have been programmed towards lack, which is why you feel lack, which is why you speak about lack, which is why you think about lack. But just like you were programmed into lack, you can also be programmed into abundance. But what you need to understand is 90 to 99% of the entire world is still programmed towards lack. So anytime you put on a TV show, they're going to show you that the rich people are immoral or bad, that being poor is moral. And if you're in the money game, you've heard me talk about this in the one day where I call it the morality paradox. So you're going to have to be able to navigate the fact that the people in your life are still going to show up as lack-based humans. You're going to have to navigate the fact that the majority of people are still living in the matrix. The majority of people still think that money is a limited resource. The majority of people think that rich people and billionaires are inherently bad. They think that the wealth should be evenly distributed. But there's a saying by Jim Rohn, which I absolutely love. And he said, even if the money was to be reallocated all over the world, it would go back into the hands of people who had it. Because of the way that people think about money, because of the energetic frequency that they're at with money, because of the way they believe money goes for them. People that are raised in wealthy families, the reason why they can always generate money quickly and easily is because of the fact that they grew up in a household that told them that money was easy to come by. They grew up in a household that told them that money was always available. They grew up in a household that told them they were worthy of getting the things that they wanted. They grew up in a household that said they got to have things that they wanted to have. Money was never used as a limitation. Money was always used as something that could expand how they lived. And so I need you to understand that just because you're dedicated to doing this money work, it doesn't mean that anyone else around you will be. But I'm going to give you, in the game that I'm going to teach you in the abundance game, this is something that you can try on with the people that you live with or the people that you're in relationship with. And it might allow them to change how they feel and speak and think about money. But we're not here to force anyone. We're here to do the work on us. And because we're the ones that are manifesting it, we can change our reality and people will see. Because how do people in the matrix learn? They learn by seeing changes. So if you start manifesting money, if you start having a different experience with money, people are going to see it. And once they see it, that's when they'll believe it. But the abundance game is what I would say if you are living with somebody or dating somebody that's really in lack. You can try this game on, and that way you're able to maybe have a different relationship with money with that person so that way money is easier for you. But at the end of the day, we're not here to force anybody to change their habits. But when people see that you have a different reality, especially in terms of money, that's when they'll be more curious. So make sure you're here to model what it is like to show up as an abundant person, as a wealthier person. And that's how you're really going to be able to help other people in your reality. But at the end of the day, you're here to help yourself. You can't make anyone do anything. Because I would say that's not one of the number one questions that I get asked anytime I go into a coaching space or anytime I take questions. I will always get asked at least once, but how do I do this if I get negative people around me? But how do I do this if people around me are in lack? And it's like, stop focusing so much on the other people. Those other people shouldn't affect you. And if they're affecting you, that's not on them, that's on you, right? So at the end of the day, the work is always to work on yourself. So going back to abundance, we have a tendency to stop appreciating the things that we have because we are in this rat race. We've been programmed to go, 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 to get. And then even though we have a roof over our heads, even though we've got eyes that we can see with, even though we've got ears that we can hear with, even though we've got legs that we can walk on, even though we have lungs that we can breathe with, even though we've got running water, even though we've got heat and electricity in our house, even though we have a car to drive, even though we've got food to eat, even though we have our health, even though, do you see how I can keep going and keep going and keep going? How often throughout your day are you feeling grateful for these things that you already have? When you wake up in the morning and say that you're a coffee drinker, if you're not, replace coffee with whatever you drink in the morning. But when you wake up in the morning and you go and get your morning coffee, do you relish that morning coffee? Are you sitting there taking a sip of that morning coffee, feeling the gratitude for having that coffee, feeling how good it tastes to take that first sip? Are you so grateful for that coffee and the fact that you have that coffee? Or while you're making the coffee or while you're drinking the coffee, are you focused on thinking about everything you need to do that day? Are you focusing on thinking about or worrying about how you don't have enough money or how you don't have enough of this or how you don't know where this is going to come from? Or are you freaking out about your bills? Like, where are you at throughout your day when you're interacting with the things that you already have? Because the best way for you to master abundance is for you to master being in the present moment with appreciation and gratitude. If you did not have that coffee in the morning, how would you feel? How would your day go? Because there's a lot of people that are like, I can't get up. If I don't have coffee, I can't get up. And while I am not the best example of this because I'm somebody who challenges myself to not drink things and not do things because I don't like to have, I don't think it's healthy to have something in your body every single day, like with caffeine, you know what I mean? Water, of course. But I always challenge myself to go without things. But there's a lot of people that would be like, well, like my aunt, she always says this, I could not get up without that morning cup of coffee because my mom and my other aunt don't drink coffee. And she's like, I don't know how you do it. They drink soda though. Like, oh, soda's way worse for you. And they drink it first thing in the morning. Oh, but she's always like, I don't know how you do it. I need that cup of coffee. There's a lot of people that are like that. But have you ever thought about how grateful you are for having that cup of coffee? If you're one of those people that's like, yeah, I need that cup of coffee. Are you being so fucking grateful for that cup of coffee because you're believing that it's giving you the energy to get through the day? I'm saying believing because Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist from Stanford, who has an amazing podcast. If you were in Reprogram Yourself, I tell you about him and I give you his information. But he tells you how if you're actually drinking coffee first thing in the morning, you're actually disrupting your hormones and you're like tricking your body to think it has energy. So it's actually depleting the energy. So that's why I say like feel like it, because you would actually be better off not drinking coffee first thing in the morning. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Are you grateful for the fact that you have that morning coffee? Are you actually sipping every sip of that coffee with gratitude? Or are you too busy dissociating from the present moment, being in a lack frequency, being in a lack mindset? How am I going to get this done? How am I going to get this much money? How am I going to pay this bill? Oh my God, I got to do all these things today. Like, what's your energy? Where are you at mentally, emotionally when you're drinking that cup of coffee? Are you genuinely grateful for that cup of coffee? Are you genuinely grateful that you have it? Are you genuinely grateful for not only the coffee, but the coffee mug? Are you genuinely grateful if you're drinking iced coffee for the ice cubes and for the cup that you're drinking it in and the creamer that you have? Are you genuinely grateful? As somebody that does not drink milk, I only have plant-based things. If I were to go out to like a regular Joe Schmo diner, they're not going to have plant-based coffee creamer. And in that moment, I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful for having it at home. But does it take you to not have it to be grateful for having it? Because that's where a lot of people are at. Every day when I wake up, when I pour that plant-based creamer in my coffee, I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful for this plant-based creamer. I am so grateful for it, especially because there's a lot of shitty ones on the market. So when you find a good one and you can actually find it, I'm always so grateful. But it's like, where are you at? Where are you at? When it comes to your car, and I want to give you a few examples, because it's like, we've been so deeply programmed to be in a lack frequency that sometimes you don't even realize how ungrateful you've been being in relationship to something. But when you get in your car and you go drive to your morning commute or drive to the gym, wherever you're driving to, because some people work from home. But when you get in your car, are you genuinely so grateful when you're pulling out of your driveway? Are you so grateful for the fact that you have a car? Or are you looking at your car and going, ugh, there's that scrape in it. Ugh, I wish I had a newer model. Ugh, I just want to have a car that has less mileage. Ugh, I don't like this car. I don't like the interior of it. I want a new car. I just wish I had a nice car. When nice cars drive by, are you judging those people? Are you going into this ungrateful like victim frequency? Or are you genuinely so fucking excited that you have a car to drive? Are you so fucking excited? I just rewatched True Blood, which was a show that I absolutely loved when I was like, I don't know, my early college years. Absolutely love that show. Had all of the DVDs, stupidly lent them to my best friend who never returned anything and never got them back. Do you ever think about how we used to pay $60 for one season of DVDs and now it's just streamable? Anyway, are you grateful for the fact that you can stream things without paying $60 for them? But I say this because I was rewatching True Blood, and if you don't know, it's about vampires getting introduced into society and like mainstreaming into society. So it's a really cool concept. But anyway, it takes place in Louisiana, which is, if you've ever been in the South, a lot of places in the South are broke as fuck. I can say this because I've lived in the South. If you've ever driven through North Carolina, oh my God, it's like the places that horror movies are made out of. But so everybody in that show, they had shitty cars, or they didn't even have a car. And not once, minus Jason, who had a Ram, who he was obsessed with. He had a sexy Ram truck. And so he was the only one and it was like a conversation that was had like twice about how much he loves that truck, but that was it. But it was like nobody was talking about in that show, like, oh my God, I wish I had a car. Oh my God, I wish my car was nicer. Like everybody was just so grateful for the fact that they had a car, even though the majority of their cars were really, really old, were very rusty. And it's like, are you driving an old, kind of rusty, kind of beat up car right now and you're feeling ungrateful for that car? Imagine if you didn't have that car. Imagine if you had to walk everywhere. Imagine if you had to ride a bicycle everywhere. Imagine if you had to take public transportation everywhere. Now, caveat, if you live in the city, like in New York City, nobody has cars, nobody drives. You don't ever want to drive in New York City. I love driving and I drive everywhere. I'm never a passenger princess. I think that's the weirdest thing in the world. I always drive. I'm always behind the wheel. You will not see me driving in New York City. You will never see me driving there. No. People complain about LA traffic. They clearly haven't been to New York City. So if you're in the city and you don't have a car, then this is of course a little different for you. But if you don't live in New York City, I would say basically everywhere else, maybe if you're in a bigger city, but understand where I'm going with this. So you might be somebody that's like, well, I live in New York City, I don't have a car, but think about the apartment that you have. Think about the condo that you have. Think about the house that you have. Are you so grateful for the fact that you have a roof over your head? Or are you constantly like, I wish I had a fenced in backyard. I wish I lived in a bigger house. I wish I lived in a more modern place. I wish I had a penthouse view. I wish I had I wish I lived in a different city. I wish, like, are you thinking about all day long about how you wish that your bathroom was different, or you wish that your kitchen was different, or you wish that you lived in a different city, or you wish that, like, do you see how easily, and this can literally, it doesn't have to be a car, it doesn't have to be your condo, but I would argue if you're watching this program, you live in a house or you live in a condo. Even if you're living in a house that isn't yours right now, like it's not owned by you, maybe your family is letting you live there, whatever it is, are you so fucking grateful and appreciative for the fact that you have a roof over your head, even if you don't own it? Because if anything, isn't that, like, that's more abundant. You're living for free, or you're living for very minimal rent, when most people would have to pay like thousands of dollars to have that house, and you have an abundance of support around you to let you live there. Or are you constantly thinking about how you're so annoyed about your mother or your father or your uncle, whoever's letting you live in their house? Like, what's the frequency that you're in relationship to the things that you already have? And I don't care if they aren't technically yours. If you maybe don't have a car, but you share a car with your boyfriend, you still get to drive that car. What is your relationship with the things that you already have in your life? Because a lot of people think that money work and abundance is, well, when I have the money. No, money is actually an energetic practice at first, and then it becomes an investment practice. So what I mean by that is, if you don't ever understand the energetics of money, if you don't ever start appreciating and noticing the abundance all around you, then you're never going to have enough money to invest. You need to understand the energetics of money. You need to understand how to look for and notice the abundance all around you, so that way you can actually manifest tangible money, so that way you can invest the money. And it's actually how you feel, speak, and think about money when you don't have money that actually determines whether you're available for having more money. A lot of people have this whole money thing twisted because they've been programmed in the matrix, where it's like, well, yeah, well, when I get the money. No, you need to work on your relationship with the present moment, with your relationship to abundance, with the relationship that you have with the things that you have right now. Every day with everything, are you saying thank you? Before you eat your food, are you saying thank you? God, source, universe, whatever term works for you. Thank you so much for this food. Thank you so much for this car. Thank you so much for my internet. Thank you so much for my phone. Thank you so much for this cup. Thank you so much for this water. Thank you so much for the clothes that I'm wearing. Or are you looking at your closet going, I want a new wardrobe? Are you looking at your makeup going, ugh, I need new makeup? Are you looking at the things that you have and telling them that they're not enough? Are you all day long focusing on how you want things to be different, and you're never giving any appreciation for the things that you have? Because manifestation is about clearing space energetically and physically, so that way you can manifest new things. If you want to manifest a house, you better fucking be grateful for the house that you're in. If you want to manifest a new car, you better fucking be grateful for the car that you have right now. If you want to manifest more money in your business, you better be grateful for the clients that you have right now. If you want to manifest health, you better be grateful for the health that you have right now. If you want to manifest more money, you better be grateful for the money that you have right now. Are you so grateful for the money that is currently in your bank account? Or every time you look at your bank account, do you go, oh, I don't have enough? You don't have enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. If money was a person that you were dating and you talked about money the way that you currently do, would that person keep dating you? Probably not, right? Probably not. You need to understand that every moment of every day you have a relationship with abundance. Is it an abundant relationship, or is it a lack-based relationship? And I mean this with everything. And do you see how this conversation goes so much deeper, so much wider than just money? This is your relationship with everything that you have. Are you in an abundant mindset and having an abundant frequency about everything in your life, every day, every moment? Or are you in a lack-based frequency and a lack-based mindset every day and every single moment? Because a lot of people approach manifestation from lack. A lot of people approach money manifestation from lack. When it's like, you're not even appreciating the money that you have right now. So how are you indicating to the universe that you're ready for more? And when we talk about the energetic nature of it, if you're in a shame frequency of 20 hertz, then how are you going to manifest money in abundance? Because you're not even an energetic match for it, right? And quite honestly, if you can't handle the money that you have right now, if you're not appreciative for the money you have right now, how are you indicating to yourself and to the universe that you're ready for more? Because you're not. You're not, right? So I want you to be really honest with yourself. Are you actually in an abundant frequency and you actually in an abundant mindset all day long? Because so many people will be like, well, how do I act like a rich person when I don't have any money? And it's like, you're missing the fucking point. If you're asking that question, you are in such a victim frequency that you're not even getting it. Like, it's literally not even landing. Being abundant has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with money. It's about how you think. It's about how you feel. Abundance is everywhere. Are you seeing it? Are you feeling it? Are you expressing verbally? Are you expressing gratitude or mentally expressing gratitude? Are you thinking about how grateful you are, feeling how grateful you are, feeling how appreciative you are for the things that you have? And this is why I pointed to acceptance on the frequency scale, because you need to accept what you have right now and feel grateful for what you have right now, so that way you can raise your frequency, so that way you can appreciate the things that you have and then start feeling love for the things that you have, because you need to start becoming an abundant person right now. Stop take wealthy and take rich out of it, because there's so many people that are so deeply in a victim frequency when it comes to money that they are missing the whole fucking point. How do I act like a wealthy, like that? That question drives me fucking nuts, because I just want to be like, you're never going to be. Like, you're never going to be, if that's the line of questioning you're asking. I've never once, like, it's always been, even when I was really struggling, it was always, how can I feel more abundant? How can I feel more abundant? How can you feel more abundant? By seeing the abundance that's all around you, by noticing the abundance that's all around you, by being grateful for the abundance that's all around you. How often are you doing that? How often are you expressing gratitude? How often are you truly, genuinely grateful and excited and thankful for the clothing that's on your back, for the water that you get to drink, for the shower that you get to take every day, for the car that you get to drive, for the makeup that you have, for the hair that's on your head, for the animals that you have, like whatever it is? Are you expressing gratitude for it all day long? Or are you looking at what you currently have and what your current life looks like and going, ugh, I just want this to be better. I want to have more money. I want to have a nicer car. I want to be in a different house. I want to be in a different relationship. Where are you at? Where are you at? So one thing that I want you to start doing is I want you to start saying, thank you. Thank you, universe, for this cup of water. Thank you, God, for this car. Thank you, universe, for this house. Thank you, God, for my refrigerator. Like, whatever it is, if you could start telling the universe, saying to yourself, thank you. Just poured a cup of green tea. Thank you for that green tea. You've got internet in your house. Thank you for that internet. You've got lights on. Thank you for the electricity. You've got clean air to breathe. Thank you for the air. I want you to start saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And not like just saying it to say it. I want you to actually feel gratitude for what you have. Anytime you notice yourself go into lack and you're about to get into that victim frequency and complain or look at what you don't have, no, you're going to start looking at and noticing what you do have. Because a lot of people are allowing their state of being to be dictated by how much money or the lack of money that they have. And those are the people that are going to struggle with money manifestation. Because you need to be able to master yourself, so that way you can show up like the most abundant and grateful version of yourself right now with what you do have, focusing on what you do have. Because when you appreciate what you have, it appreciates. When you depreciate what you have, it depreciates. You need to start appreciating more. Because when you start seeing abundance, it's literally everywhere. You see it everywhere. And if you're not seeing it everywhere, it's because you've been programmed not to see it. So that's why I created this abundance game that I'm going to teach you, because it's going to teach you how to rewire your mind towards abundance. Now, this is something that I want you to do for the next 30 days, and then 30 days after that, and then 30 days after that, until this just becomes your new way of being and operating. But I'm going to teach you how to expand your mind to start seeing the abundance all around you. And then any moment throughout the day where you start going into a lack frequency, you're going to start being grateful for what you have. So that way you don't even get there. You start feeling lack. I want you to look around and see all of the abundance around you. I want you to start feeling abundantly, seeing abundance. Stop allowing the money that you have or lack of money that you have to dictate how you feel, to dictate how you speak, because that doesn't require money. Like, it really doesn't require money. Right now, in this moment, do you have a house over your head? Yeah. Do you have air to breathe? Yeah. Do you have food to eat? Yeah. So like, money doesn't control you. You let money control you. You let the lack of money control you. And that's why you're so unhappy and miserable. It's not because of your lack of money. It's because of the way you are, the way you're allowing your emotions to be, because your emotions are habitual. You start feeling into the same emotions every single day. You literally have to train your body to feel differently. That's why I tell you that the 3 pillars of my manifestation method are rewire your mind, regulate your nervous system, and recode your cellular DNA, because you have to teach yourself to feel differently. Everything is made up of energy. It's 0.999% energy. Everything is energy. So when you understand that you get to feel how you want to feel, you get to speak how you want to speak. Money doesn't affect how you speak. You're letting it, because you're playing some bullshit story in your head where it's like, well, I can't speak that way because I don't have money. Says who? Says who? Because anyone that has become a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, they will tell you that they started speaking positively, they started speaking abundantly, they started speaking wealthy before they had the money. The way you speak, that doesn't cost you a cent. So how are you speaking in your head and out loud? Because that doesn't cost you any fucking money. That's why it's just the craziest thing when people are like, but how do I feel wealthy when I don't have the money to spend? I can't go out and buy things. So are you appreciating what you have right now? Honestly, are you so fucking appreciative for everything that you have? Are you falling in love with the appreciation for all of the things at every moment? Because that's how you're going to get from accepting to falling in love for everything that you have. And then it's like you're so happy and content with where you're at right now that the universe has to give you more, because you've changed your energetic frequency. You've changed what you focus on. You've changed where you're showing up all day long. Your heart is your electromagnetic force field. That's your point of attraction. When you fall in love with the things that you do have, when you appreciate the things that you do have, you strengthen your aura. You show up with a different energetic signature. And because you're showing up differently, your reality is going to show up differently. But you can't keep telling yourself, I'll feel wealthy when I have the money, because you're never going to get the money if that's the case. And if you manifested money through winning the lottery, you would lose it. Just like 80% of people go bankrupt because they never actually change the way they feel. They never actually change the way they speak. They never actually fell in love with the present moment. They never actually appreciated anything. So they don't know how to appreciate a lot of money, even though they've spent their entire life scratching a scratch off ticket so they could get to that point. Like, you've got to understand that this is the work that you have to do. You need to start being appreciative for what you have. You need to start seeing what is there already. Start focusing on that. Of course, you can set manifestations out and say, like, I'm deciding that I'm going to manifest this. But when you're deciding to manifest something, you're not focusing on the lack of not having it, right? Because at the end of the day, you're either showing up as the version of yourself that has it, or you're showing up as the version of yourself that doesn't. So the version of yourself that has money isn't talking, speaking, and feeling about how they don't have money. And so you can't be the person that's complaining about money, that's feeling about the lack of money, that's always worried about money and manifesting money, because you're not showing up like the wealthy version of yourself. You're showing up like the poor version of yourself. So it's like you need to start changing your relationship with abundance. And when you do that, you're going to realize, oh, wow, I really haven't been appreciative. Oh, wow, I really haven't been feeling grateful. Oh, wow, I've actually been saying that I have all these things, but that's not enough, and that's not good enough, and this needs to be newer, and I want this to upgrade, and this. Of course, you can desire for things to change and to upgrade things, but you can't allow the fact that you don't have something to be dictating how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're moving throughout your life. You have to start being able to have emotional intelligence to master your emotions, to master your mindset, so that way you can focus on, you can feel into, and you can speak about what you desire to have, never allowing the lack of something to control you. Because at the end of the day, you're either in control of yourself or you're not. But it's not anything outside of you that is controlling you. But that's not anyone or anything's fault outside of you. That is you continuing to choose to not be in your power and to not actually master yourself. And when it comes to manifestation, self-mastery, that's 100% of the game. So anytime you notice that you're feeling, speaking, or thinking about lack, I want you to zoom out and I want you to start looking at all of the abundance around you. Anytime you go to look at your bank account and you're like, wish I had more money in there. Nope. I'm so grateful for this $600. I'm so grateful for this $100. I'm so grateful for however much it is. Be grateful for what you have right now, because what you appreciate appreciates. Anytime you think about how you want a different car, nope, don't go into lack. Wish this car was newer. I'm so grateful for this car. I'm so grateful for this car. I love you, car. That's what I tell my car every time I get in it. I'm like, I love you, car. You're such a great car. You're doing so great. Thank you so much for getting me from A to Z. You are so amazing. You are so amazing. And quite honestly, anyone I've ever known, including myself, that has manifested a newer, nicer car, they got in their car that they currently had and they drove it as if they were driving their new car. You're whipping it, you're driving it around, you got your tunes blasting, you've got the windows down, you're feeling good. Like, you need to start showing up in that energy right now. When you're driving your car, I don't care if it's my first car was a 1986 Buick LeSabre that I called Shirley. I don't care if you're driving a 1986 Buick LeSabre called Shirley. Are you driving that like you're in a BMW? Are you driving it like you're in a Land Rover? Are you driving it like you're in a G-Wagon? Because the car that you have doesn't dictate how you drive the car. You are deciding how to drive the car. Are you driving the car in gratitude like you're the baddest bitch around? Or are you driving the car like shameful? Like, I hope nobody sees me get out of this car because like it's not that new and it's not that great and it's got a dent in it and maybe I just got into a car accident and like it's a little beat up. Like, how your car looks, the age of your car, all of that, that doesn't dictate the energy that you're in and the mindset that you're in while you're driving the car, unless you are so deeply conditioned and programmed into lack that you're letting it. But it's always a choice. It's always a choice. And that's an example of like, that's not manifesting more money. That's just you getting into your car and feeling differently. When you get dressed every single day, are you so grateful for the clothes that you have and feel like the baddest bitch that you are and do your hair and do your makeup if you're a girl or you're a guy too, but are you getting ready every single day so proud of the person that you're looking in the mirror at, like you are the baddest bitch, like you are the most abundant version of yourself? Because that doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost any money for you to change the energy that you're in and the mindset that you have about the things. It takes a lot of intentionality, consistency, gratitude, and dedication. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require money. When you learn to be grateful and appreciative for what you have right now and to show up as your most empowered self in this moment right now, no matter what you don't have, showing up empowered right now for what you do have, grateful for what you do have. This is when your entire reality will change, because you're no longer operating in circumstantial power where, well, I'll feel good and powerful when I have that car. I'll feel good and powerful when I have those new clothes. I'll feel good and powerful when I've got that money. So you're just going to give your power away and show up like a negative little Nancy until you do? Because you're not going to get anything from that energy. Like, do you see the difference there? It doesn't cost any money for you to change. It doesn't cost any money for you to think differently. It doesn't cost any money for you to feel differently. The only thing that it costs is you throwing away your victim frequency, or the victim archetype that you keep playing into. But that doesn't ultimately cost anything. Do you understand now what I mean and what everyone means when they say money is energy? Because even if we look at people that have an insane amount of money, people that are famous, they're successful, say that somebody was an artist and they released an album and it went viral and they're now all of a sudden super famous. A lot of those people are actually really miserable because when you have that much attention, when you have that much fame, when you have that much money, you actually become unrelatable. And so no one sees you as a human anymore because, well, you've got all this money, so who are you to be sad? It's like you can't be a human anymore. You don't have human feelings. You don't have human emotions because you have the money. And that's not fucking true, right? You are still a human. No matter how much money you have or don't have, you're still a human. You still have emotions. You still have bad days. You still have hard things that you work through. And so it's like, that's why people say that money doesn't buy you happiness, because money can buy you things, and those things can help you to live a happier lifestyle. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one that chooses fulfillment. You have to be the one that chooses happiness. And just like the people in South Africa that have literally no money at all, they're really fucking happy people. If they needed to have money to feel happy, they would never feel happy, because that is a very corrupt country and a very country that's struggling. And money is not something that they have an abundance of. But you know what they do? They have a choice to feel abundant anyway. They have a choice to feel grateful for what they do have. And just like I was talking about earlier, just because you have a lot of things doesn't mean that you feel grateful. It doesn't mean that you are happy. And people that are so deeply in a poverty mindset are the ones that are going to say, well, easy for you to say that money doesn't buy happiness. You aren't struggling with money. And it's like, but you're choosing to be a negative person. You're choosing that. You could decide to be happy and grateful for what you have. You could choose to not be the person that talks shit or judges or condemns people with money. You could be the one that is happy. You could be the one that is happy no matter what, whether you have the money, whether you don't have the money. And of course, your life is going to be better when you have the money to say yes to the things that you want to say yes to. But there's a study that once you make around $10,000 a month, anything after that, it doesn't actually affect people's happiness level, because at $10,000 a month, you have the money to afford your basic necessities. Like if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're out of survival, which is the lowest. It's like a pyramid and it's the lowest setting there. You're out of survival. So you've got the money to pay for the house. You've got the money to pay for the things that you want to do. You've got the money to pay for the car. You've got the money to pay for the food. You've got the money. Look at Guy's little booty. She's got a diaper on, and that's just so silly to me. But you've got the money. And at $10,000, those people are like, oh my God, amazing. Because now I've got a 5-figure month, and like, oh my God, this is great. But then if they stay at the 10,000, they like kind of wears off, because they're like, okay, well, I just have the money to do what I want. And if they keep making more money, the studies show that people aren't actually happier when they make more money than that. Because the biggest discernment is there when you're really struggling and in poverty and you're stuck in scarcity, when you're stuck in the lowest state of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's when having more money is really going to make a huge difference in your lifestyle. And whether you can actually put food on the table, and whether you can actually have a car to drive, and whether you can actually have a house that's in a safe place. But after that, your happiness level really isn't affected much. So money doesn't buy you happiness. You either decide to feel abundant and to feel happy, or you're deciding to feel ungrateful and you're deciding to feel broke and lost. But it's like you, at the end of the day, have a choice on how you feel. And how you feel and how you think and how you speak and how you act is going to affect how much money you have. And now again, just because I said how you act, I did not say, and notice that I have not said once in this entire masterclass, go out and buy something to feel better. Go out and spend money. Rich people do not spend money on frivolous things. Rich people are actually way more intentional with their money. Rich people, unless they're like an influencer like the Kardashians, or somebody that's in fashion, or somebody that has like a high profile where they're their job is influencing and looking good and whatever. The majority of rich people do not wear and buy luxury items. The majority of rich people wear t-shirts and jeans. The majority, and like men, wear t-shirts and jeans. The majority of rich people don't actually, like, here's the thing, the biggest waste of money is buying a brand new car. It depreciates $10,000 when you drive it off the lot. The majority of rich people, yeah, they've got a nice car, but do they have the nicest car? Are they spending an insane amount of money on something that's constantly depreciating? A car will always depreciate. It's a depreciating asset. So it's like having all of these really nice bags, like buying a Chanel bag is the stupidest thing in the world. $4,000 for a bag. I mean, if that bag gives you some form of happiness, sure, great, do it. But like, and actually, I would argue a Chanel bag is smarter than buying a new car because actually a Chanel bag does appreciate. So there's some caveats to all this. But what I'm getting at is a lot of people are like, well, rich people just buy things. No, they don't. They buy things that they intentionally thought about buying. They aren't out here buying all of these things. Like the way that you see rich and wealthy on social media is bullshit. The luxury like Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all of those things, they actually sell to people in the middle class because people in the middle class think that they need to have this thing to feel rich or wealthy. Look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z was coming up. He was wearing all these big chains. He had all of this going on. Like, so he looked wealthy. But he didn't have that much money in the bank. Now that he has all that money in the bank, he doesn't look that wealthy, right? He dresses nice. He looks good, but he's not like bling, 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 bling. People that are showing off their wealth are typically not that wealthy. And people that are very, very extremely wealthy typically don't look it. They typically don't look it. So I need you to reframe how you are seeing everything in the world, including how you are assuming and associating what rich people look like. Because Kim Kardashian, I get that everybody's got an opinion on her, but like, because she's on a reality TV show, because she posts a lot on social media, she has a very different lifestyle and she's got a very different way of being than a lot of rich people. If we were to follow Mark Cuban around for a day, what he'd be doing, what he'd be wearing, what he'd be investing his money in would not be what Kim Kardashian is buying into. So just because you have more of a behind the scenes look on Kim Kardashian's life, do not associate what rich people look like and live like with the Kardashians, because that's also manufactured. That's also something that keeping up with the Kardashians, they're keeping up appearances because you're in their house, you're in their closet, you're seeing them. That is completely different. I want you to start taking note of rich people that are not flaunting their rich. Like, look at Rob Dyrdek. He is like one of the best people to study wealth-wise. If you're somebody like me who loves business, who loves entrepreneur, if you're familiar with him, the guy who did Fantasy Factory, if you're like, who is that? That man, the amount of money that man has, like, whoo! He's got fuck you money. He's got fuck you money. And the reason why he's got that much money is because he's a brilliant businessman and he's very intentional with the way he's spending his money. Just like Mark Cuban. That man, money in the bank. Money, 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 money. He's spending his money differently. Even look at Tony Robbins. He is in a t-shirt. Like, Mark Cuban is always just in a t-shirt. You have to start looking at rich people differently than the influencer rich people, because there's a facade there. You've got to not only change your relationship with abundance, but you've got to change the way that you see wealth and you experience wealth. And the things that you think that you need to be wealthy, I guarantee you that the majority of them are made up in your head because somebody told you, or because you saw something on the internet, or because you heard something. A lot of it is complete bullshit. And you don't need to have all of those things to be wealthy. Like, you truly get to decide what wealthy looks like for you, but no matter how much money in the bank, you can still show up as an abundant person. And so don't try and look wealthy, but I would actually say the focus is feeling wealthy. How can you feel abundant? How can you fall in love and fall into gratitude for everything that you have, so that way you're always appreciating what you have right now? See other people as expanders. See other people that have what you desire to have. Maybe they have the family that you desire to have. Maybe they have the health that you desire to have. Maybe they have the lifestyle that you desire to have. Maybe they have the money that you desire to have. See them as expanders for what's possible, but don't let anybody dictate what wealth looks like and feels like for you, because it gets to be different to everyone. Some of the wealthiest people in the world live on a homestead and they like just have their little community, and they grow their own fruits and they grow their own vegetables and they tend to their land and they've got animals and they're the happiest people. A lot of people that have all of these things actually have a lot of mental health issues, because look at it from the Buddhist point of view. Attachment is the biggest thing that causes pain. And when you have all of these things, you have all of these attachments because you have a relationship with everything that you have. So sometimes it's better to have a more minimal lifestyle and have the money in the bank or have the money in investment portfolios or whatever it is. But I really want you to start challenging yourself, to start seeing abundance everywhere. And I also want you to challenge yourself to see wealth differently. So that way you understand that wealth isn't about what you're wearing. It's about the frequency that you're in. It's about the energy that you're in. So the way that you can start feeling abundant today is by noticing abundance, is by actually feeling abundant. So what I want to do now is I want to teach you the abundance game. Let's wrap this up. This abundance game is something that I want you to do from the first moment you wake up. If you're somebody that as soon as you wake up, like you don't even get out of bed and you meditate, do your meditation. If you're getting up out of bed, press and play. The second you press your phone or you press your alarm clock, the second you press that button and you get up, we start playing the game. So for the first 5 minutes, for an entire 5 minutes, I don't want you to just do this for 1 minute. I don't want you to do this for 30 seconds. Challenge yourself for 5 minutes every single day. When you wake up, you are going to start seeing the abundance everywhere just by saying there's an abundance of. So if you are getting up to go to the bathroom, there's an abundance of running water. There's an abundance of toothpaste. There's an abundance of toothbrushes. There's an abundance of mirrors. There's an abundance of pajamas, whatever it is. I want you to literally say there's an abundance of, and I want you to start looking at all of the things that there's an abundance of. There's an abundance of pictures. There's an abundance of floors. There's an abundance of furniture. There's an abundance of heat. There's an abundance of electricity. There's an abundance of animals. There, you can tell they're starting to get antsy because they're like, can we go now? Abundance of dogs. There's an abundance of. And if you struggle with this, first of all, anything that you see in your eyes, there's an abundance of. So start listing things. And here's the thing, right? I said 5 minutes because you're really going to have to challenge yourself. For 5 whole minutes, you're going to have to start listing off things, even things that you somewhat take for granted. There's an abundance of plugs. There's an abundance of candles. There's an abundance of tables. There's an abundance of storage. There's an abundance of closets. There's an abundance of rooms. There's an abundance of walls. There's an abundance of roof. You're going to have to start naming things where you're going to feel a little ridiculous. But the point here is you are challenging yourself to see what you have. And by saying there's an abundance of, so you're literally going to list for 5 minutes, whether it's in your head or out loud. There's an abundance of, I would say out loud. Like if you're by yourself and there's no one to judge you, say it out loud. If you are at home with your children, say it out loud because you need to help your children to be abundant as well. You're going to list the abundance of everything. Now, one thing that I really like to do, I also clearly am a dog mom. So the first thing that I have to do after I go to the bathroom and brush my teeth is to let them out. So I go outside, and in nature, everything is abundant. There's an abundance of grass. There's an abundance of trees. There's an abundance of rocks. I'm in the mountains, so there's an abundance of mountains. There's an abundance of fog. There's an abundance of clouds. There's an abundance of sunshine. There's an abundance of houses. There's an abundance of Fresh air, there's an abundance of. Do you see how like you're just going to keep listing? Even things that you're going to have to look for it. There's an abundance of sticks. There's an abundance of pine cones. There's an abundance of bushes. It's the point where you're going to feel kind of ridiculous. But if you start looking, there is an abundance of everything. It's abundant. It's abundant. It's abundant. So before you wake up and start going into the I don't know how I have this and I need to make more money and I don't have enough money and blah, 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 blah. No. You're going to play the abundance game and you're literally for 5 whole minutes, put a timer on your phone, hold yourself accountable. Do not allow yourself to be a scapegoat. If you're somebody that walks in the morning, you will see abundance everywhere. Start listing. There's an abundance of buildings. There's an abundance of trees. There's an abundance of people. There's an abundance of you. When you start saying this, there is literally an abundance of everything. Everything is abundant. You need to start seeing the abundance everywhere. You need to start listing the abundance everywhere. You need to start reminding yourself of the abundance everywhere because you are not paying attention to how abundant you already are and how abundant this universe is, but abundance is everywhere. It is fully abundant. This universe is an abundant universe. So you need to start seeing abundance everywhere. And then you need to stop believing yourself, your mind, your stories when you tell yourself there's a lack of. Because if you keep telling and thinking and speaking about lack, you're going to keep manifesting more lack. You're going to keep manifesting more circumstances where you have lack. And remember, your beliefs create your reality. So you need to start speaking about abundance before you have tangible money in the bank. But this is why we are starting with abundance and playing the abundance game because money has nothing to do with it. Money has nothing to do with it. There are an abundance of everything out there. So you're going to start looking and listing at the abundance everywhere. If you're somebody that does better with writing things out, then you can write this out. There's an abundance of, 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 there's an abundance of. You can do this if maybe you go on an afternoon walk. You can do this on the afternoon walk. Do not be that person that goes on a walk and has your phone with you. If you're outside, do not take your technology with you. Be one with nature. See the abundance of everything out there. Look at the fact that there's an abundance of leaves. There's an abundance of birds. There's an abundance of all of the things because everything is abundant. If you try to count the abundance all around you, you would not be able to. You're actually going to drive yourself a little insane being like, there's an abundance of, there's an abundance of, but it's because you have been so programmed towards lack that you're now like agitating your mind because you're telling it to completely focus on something that you have said that you don't have when clearly it's everywhere. So it's not that you were lacking in abundance. It's that you weren't paying attention to the abundance. You weren't noticing the abundance. You weren't grateful for the abundance. And because of that, you didn't feel abundant. You didn't have abundance, but you did have abundance. You did have abundance. You just weren't feeling it. You just weren't focusing on it. You just weren't paying attention. So start paying attention to the abundance all around you. And like I said, you can start playing this game with people. You go on a long car ride or you're in the car to go to dinner with your significant other or your friend or your family members. Play the abundance game. There's an abundance of, 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 there's an abundance of. When you start playing this game, you're going to realize there's literally an abundance of everything, but you've got to challenge yourself and your mind to see that. And the thing is even like that frequency scale, it starts off very constricted, low frequency at shame, and then it gets expanded. You are expanding your consciousness to see the abundance all around you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The abundance is everywhere. So anytime those old lack-based stories come in, those old lack-based feelings come in, you're going to challenge it by seeing all of the abundance. Anytime you go to speak lack about one thing, anytime if you actually speak lack, I want you to then list 5 things around you that are abundant. There's an abundance of, there's an abundance of, there's an abundance of, there's an abundance of. So anytime you speak one thing of lack, you're going to say abundance 5 times. So we're 5 timesing the abundance and we're canceling out that lack and we're shifting to abundance anytime. So then your brain's going to go, well, we're not going towards lack because every time we do that, Abundance, 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 abundance. Do you see how you're going to be completely shifting your mindset because there is abundance everywhere and everything? And this has fucking nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the abundance that is this reality. Everything is abundant. And then once you apply this to everything, you can see that there's an abundance of money too. Because anything man-made costs money. Look at people that are multimillionaires. There's an abundance of money. There's literally an abundance of money everywhere. It's just not everyone has the abundance of money because they're telling themselves that they can't. But you can. You've got to be the one that decides this. But the best way to move into an abundant mindset with money is to start getting into the frequency of abundance with everything else. So that way it's just a natural shift when it comes to money too. Because if everything else, literally everything else in the universe is abundant, then what's also going to be abundant? Money. Money gets to be abundant, but you've got to start speaking abundantly about money before you have the abundance of money. But abundance is everywhere. Abundance is in everything. So you're going to start playing this game every single day for the next 30 days. That is your homework. And then once you get to that 30 days, you're going to start another 30 days. There's an abundance of, there's an abundance of, there's an abundance of. You're also going to start thanking the universe, thanking God, source, creator, divinity, whatever term you like to use, thanking it for the things that you do have. Thank you for my internet. Thank you for this clothes. Thank you for this makeup. Thank you for this water. Thank you for the shower. Thank you for this car. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're going to start throughout the day speaking gratitude. Anytime you touch something, thank you. There's an abundance of. 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 When you start thanking, when you start appreciating, when you start noticing the abundance all around you, it's going to shift how you feel because your mind and your feelings are a feedback loop. And when you feel differently, you're going to think differently. And when you feel differently, you're going to attract differently. So it's all directly correlated. When you can start speaking abundance, when you can start feeling abundant, when you can start giving gratitude, speaking gratitude, feeling gratitude, you're going to shift your internal state of being, your point of attraction. And then you will naturally start manifesting more money because you are at a higher frequency and money responds to that. Money and the universe are always responding to you, to the stories that you tell, to how you feel, to the beliefs that you have. So this is how you're going to shift and start feeling more abundant. And if you're not in the money game and you really want to learn how to change your habits and your behaviors and how you interact with money, then I would recommend getting into the money game because that is the program where I really teach you how to shift your habits when it comes to money specifically. But for now, you are going to start feeling into abundance, seeing the abundance, rewiring your mind to notice the abundance that is literally everywhere. And then it's not going to make sense for you to see abundance everywhere, but you can't see it with money. Because you actually can. Maybe you don't see the abundance of money in your bank account, but you can see the abundance of money everywhere. Anytime you're driving by, you see a nice car, that's an abundance. You see somebody wearing something really expensive, that's abundance. You see the houses, you see the power lines, like everything out there. There's an abundance of money. There is. So stop believing that just because you might not have an abundance of money in your bank account right now, that abundance isn't everywhere. Because it is. It is. It literally is illogical to believe that there's a lack of money because there isn't a lack of money. They are printing more and more money every single day. Every single day. And by making it into a game where you are speaking about the abundance and seeing the abundance everywhere, it's kind of like, remember when you were younger and you played the I Spy game when you were driving in cars? I spy, I spy, I spy. You can always spy something. Spy abundance. And because you're having fun with it and because you are liking this and feeling better, you're going to have a different way of being when it comes to how you're living because your state of being doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you any money. All right, you guys, that is it for this masterclass. I'm so grateful that you were here. Let me know, DM me, drop me a comment somewhere. Let me know how this masterclass went for you. Let me know the breakthroughs that you had. I love hearing from you guys, and I'm so excited to hear how this goes for you. Play the abundance game for one day and let me know how differently you went into the day by just playing that, because it's literally going to be a game changer for you. Since I started doing that, it really, even if I wake up and I don't feel that great, I feel energetically expanded just because I'm focusing on abundance and it makes me feel better. So I'm so excited for you to start this and for you to start changing your relationship with abundance. And until the next masterclass, until the next video, until the next program, I love you guys so much and thank you for being here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.